My name is Naomi West. I'm an engineer, a single mother, and the woman who gave birth on the floor of a fast food restaurant during a Texas hurricane. I lost everything in a single day. My job, my relationship, and the future I thought I was building. But at rock bottom, I started rebuilding my life from the ashes, with nothing but my bare hands, and two tiny heartbeats counting on me to survive. If you're feeling stuck, if someone once told you you're not strong enough, not good enough, stay with me. Because my story proves you can rise, you can rebuild, and you absolutely deserve to shine. Before I share this unbelievable journey, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Hit like and subscribe if you've ever fought through adversity for your family. Trust me, you're going to want to hear what happens next. The ultrasound gel was cold on my belly when Ethan's text came through. I remember that detail with perfect clarity. How the chill made me flinch just as my phone buzzed on the exam table beside me. The technician was pointing at two flickering heartbeats on the screen, saying something about twins, but all I could focus on was the message lighting up my phone. Clear out your desk by 5. Security will escort you. My hands shook as I reached for the phone, smearing gel across the screen. The technician, Maria, her name tag said, asked if I was okay. I wasn't, but I nodded anyway, the way you do when your world is collapsing and a stranger is watching. Twins, I whispered, staring at those two pulsing lights on the monitor. I'm having twins. Maria smiled, mistaking my shock for joy. First pregnancy? I nodded again, unable to tell her that their father, my boyfriend, my boss, the man I'd shared my bed and my research with for 3 years, had just fired me via text message while I was looking at our children for the first time. The drive back to Ethan's company felt like swimming through molasses. Austin traffic crawled along I-35, giving me too much time to think. My hands kept finding their way to my stomach, still flat at 14 weeks, still keeping it secret beneath my loose engineer's button-down. I'd planned to tell him tonight. Had rehearsed the words a dozen times. We're having twins, Ethan. I know the timing isn't perfect, but... Perfect timing. God, what a joke. The parking garage at Caldwell Defense Systems was a concrete mouth that swallowed my beat-up Honda whole. I'd always felt out of place parking between the Teslas and BMWs, but today the feeling was suffocating. The security guard at the desk, Jerome, who usually asked about my weekend projects, wouldn't meet my eyes. Ms. West, he said formally, Mr. Caldwell is waiting in conference room 3. Not his office. Of course not his office. Where we'd made love on his leather couch just 2 weeks ago. Where he'd whispered promises against my neck about our future together. Conference room 3 was where they fired people. Ethan sat at the far end of the table, his law degree from UT prominent on the wall behind him like a weapon. He looked exactly like what he was. 35, successful, untouchable. His gray suit probably cost more than my car. When he finally looked up from his laptop, his blue eyes were winter. Sit, he said. I remained standing. What is this about? The Argus project. He closed his laptop with a soft click. I need you to transfer all files and documentation to the company server immediately. Argus is mine. The words came out steadier than I felt. I developed that algorithm before I ever worked here. You know that. What I know, he said, standing slowly, is that you developed it using company resources, on company time. That makes it company property. That's not... I stopped, understanding flooding through me like ice water. You're stealing it. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Stealing? Naomi, you're too naive to understand what Argus could become. The Department of Defense is interested. Do you have any idea what that means? I know exactly what it means. My hand found my stomach again, an unconscious protection. It means you want to weaponize my work. Our work, he corrected. And yes, I want to see it reach its full potential. You're too weak to make the hard choices that requires. Weak. The word hit like a physical blow. I thought of the two heartbeats on the ultrasound screen, of the family I'd imagined we were building together. I won't do it, I said. His face hardened into something I'd never seen before. Something cruel. Then you're done here. Security will escort you out. Your personal items will be mailed. Ethan, we're done, Naomi, all of it. The job, the relationship, everything. He moved toward the door, then paused. I suppose I should thank you. You've shown me that mixing business with pleasure is always a mistake. I found my voice somehow. I'm pregnant. He stopped, but didn't turn around. The silence stretched between us like a year. Then I suggest you figure that out on your own, he said finally. My lawyer will send papers terminating any potential parental claims. I want nothing to do with you or that situation. Twins, I said to his back. We're having twins. The door clicked shut behind him. Jerome walked me to my car in silence. My desk items, 3 years of my life, fit in a single cardboard box. A coffee mug that said, World's Okayest Programmer. A stress ball shaped like a brain. A framed photo of Ethan and me at last year's company picnic, both of us laughing at something I couldn't remember anymore. I sat in my car until the parking garage lights came on, holding that stupid box and trying to understand how someone could delete 3 years with the same ease they'd close a laptop. Finally, I started the engine and pointed it toward the only place I had left to go. Dust River, Texas, population 2,247, sits an hour northwest of Austin, where the hill country starts to forget what green means. I hadn't been back since Mom's funeral 2 years ago, but the key was still where she'd always hidden it, under the ceramic armadillo by the front steps. The house smelled like memory. Her lavender potpourri mixed with the peculiar mustiness of a place uninhabited too long. I set my box of office things on the kitchen counter and laughed, a broken sound that echoed off the yellow walls Mom had painted herself. Hey, Mom, I said to the empty room. Guess who's home? The first week was a blur of phone calls I didn't answer and emails I deleted unread. Ethan's lawyer was efficient. Papers arrived by courier on a Tuesday morning, formally relinquishing all parental rights and responsibilities. I signed them on Mom's kitchen table, my tears blurring the legal language that reduced my children to aforementioned biological material. My savings would last 2 months, maybe 3 if I was careful. The prenatal vitamins cost $40 a bottle. The next doctor's appointment was in 2 weeks. The math was simple and terrifying. The dairy freeze on Main Street had a help wanted sign in the window. The manager, a red-faced man named Carl, looked at my MIT degree and laughed. Overqualified much? He said. What's a girl like you doing in Dust River? Starting over, I said. He hired me anyway, probably out of pity. The uniform shirt strained over my growing belly, but the evening shift tips were good, and Carl didn't ask questions when I needed to sit down every hour. The problem with small towns is that everyone knows your business before you do. By my second week back, the whispers followed me like dust devils. That's Grace West's girl. Came back pregnant and alone. You know what that means. Mrs. Henderson from church made a point of crossing the street when she saw me coming. The Barkers wouldn't make eye contact at the grocery store. Even teenagers snickered when I walked past, their mothers having filled their ears with cautionary tales about girls like me. I was wiping down tables at the dairy freeze when Felix walked in. I recognized him immediately, the town's resident hermit, the damaged veteran everyone whispered about. He'd been friends with Mom, though I'd never known how. You're Grace's girl, he said. Not a question. I straightened, defensive. Yeah. He studied me with eyes that had seen too much. She talked about you, said you were smart, said you were going to change the world with computers or some such. Well, I gestured at my grease-stained uniform. Plans change. They do. He ordered a black coffee, then surprised me by sitting down instead of leaving. Your mama saved my life once. I stopped wiping. What? Wildfire in '09. I was drunk, passed out in my trailer. She was driving past, saw the smoke, dragged my sorry ass out. He sipped his coffee. Visited me in the hospital every day after. Only person in this town who'd look me in the eye after I came back from Afghanistan. I didn't know that. Your mama didn't advertise her kindness. He stood, left a 20 on the table for a $2 coffee. You need anything? I'm in the yellow trailer off County Road 12. He was gone before I could refuse his money. The storm came in April, 3 weeks before my due date. West Texas storms don't play. They arrive like angry gods, full of wind and fury and water the desert can't absorb. I was stocking napkins when the first contraction hit. Not Braxton Hicks. I'd learned the difference. This was a fist squeezing my entire middle, stealing my breath. Carl had already sent everyone home except me. "Just finish up and lock out," he'd said. "Radio says it'll blow over." The radio was wrong. By the time I made it to my car, the rain was horizontal. The second contraction came as I fumbled with my keys, dropping me to my knees in the parking lot. Water soaked through my uniform instantly. "No," I told my body. "Not now, not here." The twins had other plans. I managed to drive 3 blocks before pulling over, hazards blinking uselessly in the storm. The regional hospital was 40 minutes away on a good day. The road was already flooding. My phone showed no signal. The tower must have gone down. Another contraction. I screamed into the empty car. "Think, Naomi. You're an engineer. Problem solve." The dairy freeze had a landline. I just had to make it back. I abandoned the car and half crawled, half ran through the storm. The keys shook so badly in my hands it took 3 tries to unlock the door. Water streamed off me onto Carl's clean floor as I grabbed the phone. 911, what's your emergency? "I'm in labor. Twins. The storm..." Another contraction cut me off. "Ma'am, we can't get units out in this weather. Can you get to shelter?" "I'm at the dairy freeze on Main." "Stay put. I'm going to try to connect you with medical support." The next hour was a blur of pain and fear and a voice on the phone. Dr. Martinez from Austin, walking me through what was about to happen. Carl kept first aid supplies in the back, towels in the storage room. I built a nest on the floor like an animal, operating on instinct older than thought. "You're going to be okay," Dr. Martinez kept saying. "You're strong. You can do this." But I wasn't strong. I was terrified and alone and about to give birth on the floor of a fast food restaurant while the world drowned outside. The back door crashed open. Felix stood there, soaked to the skin. "Heard the call on my scanner," he said, dropping to his knees beside me. "What do you need?" "I can't..." Another contraction stole my words. "Yes, you can." His voice was steady. "Sure. I've delivered babies before. Afghanistan. Not ideal circumstances there either." "Are you drunk?" I had to ask. 5 years sober." He took my hand. "Your mama pulled me out of a fire. Let me help pull your babies into the world." Dr. Martinez on the phone. Felix's steady hands. The storm screaming outside. And me, finding strength I didn't know existed, bringing 2 tiny lives into a world that seemed determined to wash us all away. Ivy came first, fierce and fighting, her cry cutting through the thunder. June followed 10 minutes later, smaller, quieter, but breathing. Breathing. "They're beautiful," Felix said, and I saw tears on his weathered face. I held my daughters for the first time on the floor of the dairy freeze, storm water seeping under the door, and felt something fundamentally shift in the universe. They were so small, too small, but perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes each, dark hair like mine. "Hello," I whispered to them. "I'm your mom. Just me, but I promise that's going to be enough." The storm broke just as the ambulance finally arrived. Sunlight streamed through the windows, catching the water on the floor and turning it gold. "Ivy and June," I told the paramedics as they checked us over. "Their names are Ivy and June. Spring babies." One of them smiled. "After the storm comes new growth." The NICU in Austin was a world of beeping machines and tiny bodies in plastic wombs. Ivy and June spent 3 weeks there, learning to breathe on their own, learning to eat. I slept in a chair between their incubators, living on hospital coffee and whatever Felix brought me. He came every other day, driving his ancient truck an hour each way. "Don't fuss," he'd say when I protested. "Got nothing better to do." That was a lie. I'd seen him wince getting in and out of the truck, favoring his bad leg. But he came anyway, bringing homemade sandwiches and clean clothes and silence that didn't need filling. "Why are you helping me?" I asked one evening, June finally stable enough to hold. He watched her tiny fingers wrap around mine. "Your mama asked me once what I was good for. Couldn't answer her then. Maybe this is it." When we finally came home to Dust River, the yellow house felt different. Smaller, but also bigger, full of possibility and terror in equal measure. I'd managed to buy 2 second-hand cribs from a garage sale, setting them up in Mom's old sewing room. The walls still showed her pencil marks where she'd planned quilts she never got to make. The dairy freeze couldn't take me back. Lifting restrictions from the C-section made it impossible. But the morning shift at the gas station worked. 4 a.m. to noon, $8.50 an hour plus whatever people threw in the tip jar out of pity. Felix watched the girls, refusing any payment except gas money. "They're good company," he said. Quiet, unlike most folks. I laughed, the first real laugh since Ethan's conference room. "They're babies, Felix. Give them time." The nights were the hardest. 2 a.m. feedings, both girls crying, my body screaming for sleep. I'd sit on the kitchen floor, a baby in each arm, and plot revenge against Ethan Caldwell with the dedication of the truly exhausted. My journal from those days is hard to read. Pages of calculations, formula costs, diaper equations, the exact number of hours until they started solid food, and scattered between the numbers, fragments of fury. He'll see what we become. I'll build something he can't steal. One day, Ethan Caldwell will choke on my success. But mostly, I was too tired for revenge. Too busy keeping us alive. The old laptop Mom had left barely ran, but it was enough. While the girls napped, I rebuilt Argus from memory. Every line of code, every algorithm. My fingers remembered what my sleep-deprived brain sometimes forgot. I'd named it after the 100-eyed giant of myth, the one who sees everything. Now it felt more personal. Argus would be my witness, my proof that I'd existed before Ethan tried to erase me. "What's that you're always typing?" Felix asked one afternoon, Ivy asleep on his chest. "My way forward," I said. He nodded, like that made perfect sense. Maybe to him it did. The Texas Innovation Challenge announcement came in the mail like a sign from God. $50,000 grand prize, focused on environmental technology. Entry deadline in 6 weeks. I looked at my daughters, at the desert outside our window, at the code on my ancient laptop screen. "Okay, universe," I said, "let's dance." The notification came while I was changing June's diaper. "Congratulations. You've been selected as a finalist for the Texas Innovation Challenge." I stared at my phone so long that June started fussing. "Second place. Not first. That went to a team from UT with connections I could only dream of. But second meant $10,000, and more importantly, visibility. "We're going to Austin," I told the girls. They gurgled back, unimpressed. Felix drove us in his truck, the girls' car seats taking up the entire back of the cab. He'd put on his only suit, the one from his army days that still almost fit. "You clean up nice," I said. "Don't get used to it." The Austin Convention Center was a glass and steel reminder of the life I'd lost. Men in suits that cost more than my car discussed disruption and innovation while I stood in my one professional outfit. A blazer from Goodwill that almost hid the formula stain on my blouse. But when I presented Argus, now evolved into a system that could analyze soil composition and recommend optimal solar panel placement for energy generation in desert climates, the room went quiet. Really quiet. "The applications for West Texas alone," I explained, clicking through my slides, "could revitalize hundreds of dead towns. Imagine turning our greatest liability, all that empty, sun-baked land, into our greatest asset." A woman in the front row raised her hand. "What's your company called?" I hadn't thought that far, but looking at her, polished, professional, everything I used to be, the answer came instantly. "Dust Light Systems," I said, because even forgotten places deserve to shine. After the presentation, she found me by the terrible conference coffee. "Sophia Morales," she said, extending a hand. "I run an environmental investment fund. Your technology, it's exactly what we've been looking for." "I appreciate that, but I want to invest. Real money. Enough to get you out of..." She glanced at my borrowed blazer. "Whatever situation has you looking like you haven't slept in months." "I have 6-month-old twins," I said defensively. Her face softened. "Then you're even tougher than I thought." "Listen, I know what it's like to build something from nothing. I came here from Juarez with just code in my head and determination. Let me help." "Why?" "Because your idea could change everything for communities like the one I grew up in. And because..." She hesitated. "I recognize the look in your eyes. Someone tried to take something from you, didn't they?" I thought of Ethan, of conference rooms and legal documents. "Yes." "Then let's build something they can never take." We met the next week in Dust River. Sophia looked hilariously out of place in her Tesla. But she didn't complain about the heat or the dust or June spitting up on her designer blouse. You built this while working at a gas station? She scrolled through my code, impressed. Necessity is the mother of invention, I said. And I'm a mother times two. She laughed. We need to get you out of that gas station. How does Chief Technology Officer of Dust Light Systems sound? With a salary that actually feeds your kids? It sounds impossible. So did your soil analysis algorithm, yet here we are. The certified letter arrived on a Tuesday. I recognized the law firm, Caldwell and Associates, Ethan's mother's firm. Dust Light Systems is in violation of intellectual property agreements. The legal language blurred as my hands started shaking. They were claiming Argus belonged to Caldwell Defense Systems, that I'd stolen proprietary code. Sophia found me crying in the makeshift office we'd set up in Mom's garage. The letter crumpled in my fist. Talk to me, she said. They're going to take everything. Again. I showed her the letter. His mother, she's the kind of lawyer who eats people like me for breakfast. I can't afford to fight this. Sophia read it twice, her face darkening. This is bullshit. You developed Argus independently, right? Yes, but proving it. I thought of the legal fees, the time, the possibility of losing. If I lose this case, they could take the girls. Say I'm an unfit mother who stole corporate secrets. Then we don't lose. Sophia pulled out her phone. I know someone, the best IP lawyer in Texas. She owes me a favor. But I was already spiraling. The walls of the garage seemed to close in, reminding me of conference rooms and ultimatums. In the house, I could hear Felix singing off-key to the girls, probably the only lullaby he knew, some old army marching song cleaned up for baby ears. I can't, I whispered. I can't go through it again. Sophia grabbed my shoulders, gentle but firm. Look at me. You gave birth on a restaurant floor in a hurricane. You rebuilt your entire life from scratch. You think some overpaid lawyers in suits scare me? Scare us? You don't understand. His mother is about to learn what happens when she comes for one of mine. Sophia's smile was sharp. I didn't mention before, but I used to work at Caldwell Defense. I quit when I saw what they were doing with the technology. I know exactly who we're dealing with. The revelation should have felt like betrayal. Instead, it felt like fate. You knew Ethan? I knew enough to leave before I became another casualty. But I kept records, emails, memos about the Argus project that might interest you. Sophia, did you think I invested just because of your brilliant mind? She squeezed my shoulders. I invested because I believe in justice, and because I have a video from the 2018 company Christmas party that's very interesting. The video was grainy, filmed on someone's phone, but the audio was clear. Ethan's voice, drunk and boastful. Naomi's got this algorithm. Argus, she calls it. She was working on it in grad school way before she came here. Brilliant stuff. I'm just smart enough to know when to get out of her way. Oh my God, I breathed. Felix sent it to me, Sophia said quietly. Apparently, your friend has been doing some digging. Turns out he's got connections from his army days who really don't like defense contractors who misuse technology. I found Felix in the living room, June asleep on his chest, Ivy playing with his dog tags. You sent that video? I asked. He didn't look up from Ivy. Your mama saved my life. Figured it was time I returned the favor to her girls, all three of them. The legal meeting was scheduled for the following month. I spent the time preparing, gathering every scrap of evidence, every timestamp, every commit log from my grad school days. But the real preparation was internal. Finding the spine to walk into that conference room and face the man who'd tried to erase me. The morning of the meeting, I stood in front of Mom's old mirror wearing my one good suit. The woman looking back wasn't the naive engineer who'd walked into conference room 3 2 years ago. This woman had stretch marks and sleepless nights etched into her face. This woman had built something from nothing. You've got this, I told her. From the nursery, Ivy started crying. Then June, the symphony of my new life. Coming, babies, I called. Mama's coming. The conference room at Caldwell and Associates was designed to intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Austin, a table that could seat 20, and Ethan's mother presiding over it all like a queen of glass and steel. Margaret Caldwell was everything her son was, distilled and sharpened by 30 years of practice. Gray hair in a perfect chignon, suit that probably cost more than I'd made all year at the gas station, eyes like winter. "Ms. West," she said, not standing, "I assume you've come to discuss terms." "I've come to discuss the truth," I said. Ethan sat to her right, avoiding my eyes. He looked older, thinner. Good. Sophia flanked me on one side, our lawyer, Patricia Chen, who turned out to be even scarier than Margaret Caldwell, on the other. Felix had offered to come, but I'd asked him to watch the girls instead. This was my fight. "The truth," Margaret said, "is that you developed the Argus algorithm while employed by Caldwell Defense Systems, using company resources. That makes it company property." Patricia smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Actually, the truth is that Ms. West developed Argus during her graduate studies at MIT, 2 years before she ever met your son. We have the commit logs to prove it. Falsified, no doubt. And we have this." Patricia pulled out a tablet, hitting play on the Christmas party video. Ethan's drunk voice filled the room, admitting I'd created Argus before joining the company. Ethan went pale. Margaret's face didn't change, but her fingers tightened on her pen. "Inadmissible," she said. "Recorded without consent." "In Texas, only one party needs to consent to recording," Patricia countered. "The person filming consented. But if you'd prefer, we also have emails, memos. A particularly interesting conversation between your son and the DoD about weaponizing technology he knew he didn't own." I watched Ethan shrink in his chair and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just tired. "What do you want?" Margaret asked finally. "Everything," I said. "I want Caldwell Defense Systems to publicly acknowledge that Argus belongs to me. I want a written apology. And I want you to never come near my company or my family again." "Your family?" Ethan spoke for the first time, voice rough. I met his eyes. "My daughters. The ones you threw away like garbage. They're 6 months old now. Ivy looks like me. June has your eyes, poor thing." Something flickered across his face. Regret? Curiosity? But Margaret's hand on his arm killed it. "Fine," she said, "but we want a non-disclosure agreement. This all stays quiet." "No?" The word hung in the air like a challenge. "Excuse me?" Margaret's composure cracked slightly. "No NDA, no hiding. You tried to steal from me, tried to bury me. Everyone gets to know that." I stood. "Or we go to court and I tell the whole story. The pregnancy, the abandonment, the theft. I wonder how your defense contracts will hold up when they learn you've been claiming ownership of technology you stole from a pregnant woman you fired." "You're nobody," Margaret hissed. "A gas station attendant playing with computers. Who would believe you?" Sophia laughed. "She's the founder of Dustlight Systems. We just got our first million in funding. 3 Texas newspapers want to do features on her. Young mother revolutionizing desert agriculture with AI. Imagine how that story changes when we add corporate espionage and abandonment." I pulled out my phone, showing them the email from the Austin American-Statesman. They want to know about my inspiring journey. Should I tell them? The silence stretched. Finally, Margaret pushed a paper across the table. "Sign this, acknowledging that you developed Argus independently. We'll do the same." "And the apology?" "Don't push it," Ethan said. I looked at him. Really looked. Saw the smaller man he'd always been, hiding behind money and his mother's reputation. "I don't need your apology," I said. "I have something better. I have a life you can't touch." We signed the papers. As we left, I turned back one last time. "Ethan, her name is June, the one with your eyes. She smiles now. Thought you should know what you're missing." His face crumpled. Margaret's went hard. "Don't contact us again," she said. "Wouldn't dream of it." 5 years later, I stood in what used to be desert. Now, solar panels stretched toward the horizon, interspersed with patches of green where our soil restoration program had taken hold. The Dust River Agricultural Center, built where the old gas station used to be, hummed with activity. "Mom, look!" Ivy ran up, tablet in hand, code streaming across the screen. "I made the irrigation timer work with voice commands." At 7, she was already showing the engineering bug. June followed more slowly, camera around her neck, documenting everything with the patience of someone who understood that the best stories took time to unfold. "That's brilliant, baby," I said, examining her code. "But what happens if the voice recognition fails?" Ivy's face scrunched in concentration. "Oh, I need a manual override. Always have a backup plan." I agreed. Sometimes the fancy solution breaks. Like when the coffee machine broke and Aunt Sophia had to drink Felix's cowboy coffee. June piped up, making us all laugh. Felix had officially joined Dustlight as head of community outreach, which mostly meant he drove around West Texas convincing skeptical ranchers to try our technology. He was good at it. Turns out, people trust a veteran who understands their land. Speaking of coffee, Sophia said, joining us, we just got confirmation. The Department of Energy wants to fund our expansion into New Mexico. How much? I asked. Enough to hire 50 more people, all local. She grinned. Dust River's about to have its first tech boom. My phone buzzed. Unknown number, Austin area code. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Naomi? The voice was older, rougher, but unmistakable. Ethan? I motioned for Sophia to take the girls inside. I thought we agreed, I know, I'm sorry, He paused. I saw the article. About Dustlight. About what you've built. I'd done a lot of interviews lately. Inc. magazine, Forbes, the girl who'd revolutionized desert agriculture, they called me. They especially loved the single mother angle. What do you want, Ethan? Caldwell Defense went under, he said quietly. Mother's firm, too. Turns out stealing ideas doesn't build sustainable businesses. I said nothing. The news hadn't made me happy when I'd heard it last month. It hadn't made me anything. I wanted to say I'm sorry, and to ask. His voice broke slightly. The girls, are they happy? I looked through the window at Ivy and June, helping Sophia set up a new demonstration. Ivy was explaining something technical while June filmed. Both of them lit up with purpose and joy. They're perfect, I said. They have a family, a real one, built on love, not legal documents. Good, that's good. He cleared his throat. I know I have no right to ask, but could I maybe... No, I could pay child support. Back support, too. I have money saved. We don't need your money, Ethan. We never did. Silence. Then, I think about them. Every day, what I threw away. Good, I said, and meant it. Live with that. Learn from it. Maybe you'll do better next time. I hung up before he could respond. That evening, we held our monthly community dinner at the center. The whole town came. Ranchers and teachers, store owners and mechanics. All of them investors in Dustlight now. All of them part of what we'd built. Mrs. Henderson, who'd crossed the street to avoid me 6 years ago, brought her famous pie. My grandson's applying to your internship program, she said shyly. He's good with computers. Send him by, I said. We're always looking for local talent. Felix gave his usual toast, something about dust and light and second chances that made half the room tear up. The girls performed their photosynthesis dance they'd learned in school, making everyone laugh. As the sun set over our transformed desert, I found myself at Mom's grave. The girls had planted flowers there, desert marigolds that bloomed despite the heat. We did it, Mom, I whispered. Built something from the ashes, just like you always said we would. The wind carried the sounds of the party. Laughter, music, life. Behind me, Ivy called out, Mom, come see. The solar batteries are at full capacity. Coming, baby. I touched the headstone once more. Grace West, the marker read. Below it, the words I'd had added, she saved lives and taught her daughter to build from what remains. Walking back to my girls, I thought about Ethan one last time. He'd been wrong about so many things, but mostly this. I'd never been weak. I'd just been waiting to discover my strength. The party went on until the stars came out, the desert alive with possibility. Sophia raised a toast to our newest contracts. Felix taught June a new chord on his old guitar. Ivy showed anyone who'd listen how the irrigation system worked. And I stood in the middle of it all. No longer the girl who'd been abandoned, but the woman who'd built an empire from dust and determination. The woman who'd learned that the best revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's building something so beautiful they have to watch from the outside, knowing they chose to leave. The sign at the center's entrance glowed in the darkness. Dustlight Systems, where life begins again from what remains. Below it, smaller but no less important, founded by Naomi West, mother of two, destroyer of deserts, builder of dreams. Mom! June tugged at my hand. Ivy says stars are just old light, but I think they're promises. What do you think? I picked her up, this child with her father's eyes and my spirit. I think you're both right. They're old light making new promises. Like us? She asked. Exactly like us, baby. Exactly like us. The letter came on a Tuesday, delivered by courier to my office at Dustlight headquarters. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Margaret Caldwell's precise script. Naomi, it read. Ethan died yesterday. Car accident. I thought you should know. Despite everything, he kept a photo of the girls from that magazine article in his wallet. I am returning it to you, where it belongs. M. I stared at the photo. Ivy and June at last year's science fair, both grinning at the camera, holding their first place trophy for a solar-powered water purification system they'd designed together. You okay, boss? Felix asked from the doorway. Yeah, I said, tucking the photo into my desk drawer. Just ghosts. That night, I told the girls their biological father had passed away. They took it with the strange resilience of children who'd never known absence as anything but normal. Are you sad? June asked, studying me with those eyes that were his but entirely hers. I'm sad for what could have been, I said honestly, but not for what is. Ivy hugged me tight. We have Felix and Aunt Sophia and everyone. That's a lot of family. Yes, baby, that's a lot of family. 2 weeks later, a package arrived. Ethan's personal effects, Margaret's note explained. Things he'd wanted the girls to have. Inside his MIT class ring. A first edition of The Martian. He'd remembered I loved it. And a letter. Naomi, it read. I know I have no right to words, but I need to say them. You were right. About everything. Argus, the girls, us. I was weak, not you. I chose fear over love, control over trust. Every day since has been payment for that choice. I've watched from afar as you built the life we should have built together. Watched our daughters become brilliant, kind, curious humans. You gave them what I couldn't. Not money or status, but strength. The strength to build from nothing. If they ever ask about me, tell them this. Their father was a coward who got one thing right. Choosing their mother. Even if I was too stupid to keep choosing her. All my love, far too late, Ethan. I burned the letter. But I kept the ring and the book, put them in a box for when the girls were older. Everyone deserves to know where they came from, even if it's complicated. The next morning, I stood before 200 high school students in the auditorium, giving my monthly talk about women in STEM. People will tell you that you need permission to build your dreams, I said. That you need the right connections, the right background, the right support. They're wrong. Sometimes the best foundations are laid in the ashes of what others burned down. A girl in the front row raised her hand. But what if you fail? I thought of conference rooms and courtrooms, of giving birth on a restaurant floor, of code written while babies slept. Then you fail better next time, and you keep building. Because the only true failure is letting someone else's weakness define your strength. After the talk, the girl approached me. 17, maybe 18. Worn clothes, determined eyes. I'm pregnant, she whispered. My boyfriend left. Everyone says I should give up on college, on engineering. But I want to build things. I want to matter. I gave her my card. Call me. Dustlight has internships, childcare included. Her eyes filled with tears. Really? Really. We build from what remains, remember? And you remain. That's enough. That afternoon, I watched my daughters in the lab, teaching younger kids how to code. Ivy, patient and logical. June, creative and kind. My greatest algorithms, my finest code. Felix joined me at the window. They're going to change the world. They already have, I said. They changed mine. The sun set over Dust River, painting the solar panels gold. In the distance, green pushed through the desert, proof that life finds a way. Always finds a way. My phone buzzed. Sophia, with our latest numbers. 100 small towns transformed. Thousands of jobs created. Millions of dollars invested in communities everyone else forgot. But the numbers that mattered most were two, Ivy and June, building their own dreams on the foundation I'd laid. Not from privilege or ease, but from ashes and determination and the absolute certainty that we deserved to bloom. Come on, Felix said. Pizza night. Your turn to pick the movie. Let me guess. The girls want something with robots? June wants a documentary about desert flowers. Ivy wants Star Wars. So both, I laughed. Probably both, he agreed. As we headed home to our weird, beautiful, chosen family, I thought about the woman who'd sat in that ultrasound room all those years ago, watching her world end. I wished I could tell her. It's not ending, it's transforming into something harder and stronger and infinitely more beautiful. The ashes of everything don't disappear. They become the soil for what grows next. And what grows next is always, always worth the fire.